What's going on, guys? Destrie here from DestrieMonis.com, where I empower creative entrepreneurs to use simple online marketing moves in order to be able to create a freestyle lifestyle. So today, I have Alex Morris on the line with us, all the way from New York City. And Alex is the founder and CEO of Lex On Decks, which is an independent record label helping artists get discovered through their talents in music. So welcome to a freestyle session with me, Alex. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. So let's dive right into the content. So Alex, let me ask you, before you started Lex on Decks, what were you doing before that?
Yeah, good question, man. So before Lex on Decks, I was actually working many years in corporate America. After I graduated from college and I moved to New York, my first job that I got was at Morgan Stanley in investment banking. So I was doing an analytical role, working on M&A, IPOs, doing a lot of analyses, financial modeling, working on pitch books, and so on. Right after that, after 2 years at Morgan Stanley, I started working at a company called Capital IQ. Which is a data and technology services company where we basically sell a platform and data to investment bankers, investment managers, for their workflow and to do their analyses. Essentially, actually, at Morgan Stanley, I was actually using Capital IQ to do all our modeling and so on. Yeah, and in the first 2 years at Capital IQ, I worked in account management. So that was a role where I was maintaining accounts, making sure my clients were happy, doing onboard training. And in the last 2 years at Capital IQ, I actually had a sales quota and worked as a sales associate for 2 years, where I had $1 million quota each year, which I had I met each year to keep my job, which I did.
Tell me, how fulfilled were you actually doing that job?
Well, in the sales job, I mean, I was fulfilled to a limit, right? So, all those skills that I learned, both in banking and of course sales, are invaluable. I use them to this day. And especially in sales, like a lot of that skill set, you need that to be an entrepreneur. You need that to run your business. So that was definitely very helpful with that. I love the people I worked with. I loved the clients that I had. But then the limits that you have that I had in that role was that one, it's not my product. So you don't have ownership over the product, over the direction of the product, and so there's a disconnect there of how much do I at the end of the day do I really love data? Do I really love technology? And the other thing is as well in sales, even in sales, and this is something that was a shocker to me, is that I always thought it was like an independent role, but sales people still have managers, managers who drive, how you, sell your product, how you market your product. And in that sense, again, it limits a lot of, how much I wanted to do myself, what I wanted to do for my clients. I tell my manager and not always would they say yes or agree with that, because it's all about what the managers want.
Absolutely. So Alex, tell us a little bit about, after the story, how did you transition from what you were doing in investment banking and sales to Lex On Decks, what you're doing now? And tell us a little bit about Lex On Decks. What do you do and what it's all about?
Yeah. So, I did, again, like I said, I did sales for 4 years. And towards the end, I was, again, getting into this mindset of getting a change in career. And I had a great relationship with my manager, who I worked with, and, I had a lot of conversations with him about, what my passions were and what I wanted to do. And he actually encouraged me in the transition to help with that. And so, I quit into end of 2015, and then quickly transitioned into starting my business, where, I had an LLC, I had to do the filing for the LLC and obviously build my team of artists. And so Lex On Decks, again, it's an independent record label. I manage and represent about 20 to 25 independent artists, diverse artists as well from around the world. So I have some artists in Argentina, in Paris, in Canada, and of course, a lot of my artists are in New York and in the US.
I didn't know that you were that worldwide.
Hey, I'm global, baby. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So what would you say the biggest challenge is for artists about getting discovered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think, the first step, I think we were talking about this before, for an artist, like especially for true musicians and true artists, a lot of what they do like comes out of a passion, comes out of a hobby. And a lot of it comes organically to them. And a lot of times they do it for fun. And so the transition the first step, I think that's very important to, getting discovered and putting yourself in a position to get discovered is that you have to, at some point, especially if you want your music to sustain your lifestyle, you need to turn it into a business. And the first step of any business, no matter what you're selling, paper clips, pencils, technology, whatever it is branding. You need a brand. You need an identifying, factor that tells people who you are, right? And what I try to train, artists, in that regard is very tricky because a lot of them think like, oh, well, let me just release my music or let me just put it out there. But you really need to know who you are. You really need to know how to define yourself and make yourself unique in the world of artists or in the world of anything that you're doing, entrepreneurship. And so branding, again, is very important in that. And I think that's definitely the first most important step to be discovered. And everything else comes after that.
It's interesting that you brought that up, Alex, because, I share with my freestylers audience the 5 moves to be able to freestyle their lifestyle. Step number 1 is to create a personal brand. Number 2 is to build a following. Number 3 is to create valuable content. Number 4, engage your audience. And number 5, promote products and services that are congruent with your personal brand. So it's interesting that you brought up branding because branding is definitely a way for people to be able to distinguish themselves in a really crowded marketplace. It's a way you can actually start to stand out in, a space where we're filled with, so many distractions with Facebook, all these social media platforms. You can literally stand out just by being who you are if you understand how to market that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's very important because, one of the things that I try to tell people, like, when I first started, I had no following, I had no music experience. I had to really build my brand out. And then to this day, I still get, DMs and emails from bigger collectives that have been doing it even longer than I, and they know who I am. They say, oh, Lex On Decks, you're that independent record label guy with artists from around the globe. And that's important because, again, it's an identifying factor of you. Like, obviously, who a lot of people kind of know who they are and they have their personality, but now you have to do it in the business context. It's like Apple. Anytime you see the Apple logo, you see the IBM logo, you know exactly what you're getting when you see that. Even if it's a different type of product, you know what you're getting. And that's important. That's an identifier, essentially.
Yeah, that's some awesome insight, Alex. Yeah, it's usually, when you're talking about, Apple and IBM, you associate brands with feelings. So how do you want people to feel when they see your brand? Well, how do I want people to see when they see my brand, Freestyle Your Lifestyle? It's all about self-expression, being able to express yourself through your lifestyle. And that's what I share with my Freestyle Lifestyle brand. And everything that I do stems from, just one word, my one word brand. I challenge you to think about this, Alex, is if you were to boil your brand into one word, what would that word be?
Oh.
I know it's a deep question, man. And I actually worked with a branding coach, Miss Julia Baxter, if she's watching this, and she helped me identify what my one word brand is. And my one word brand literally is freestyle. And Alex knows me on a personal level. He sees me tearing up on the dance floor whenever we're in New York City. So he knows that my one word is freestyle.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I love it.
That's awesome, man. So let me ask you this. Besides branding, what 3 tips would you give to artists who are struggling to get discovered? Or you can include branding as well, but what would those 3 tips be?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's hard to boil it down to 3 tips. Obviously, I was thinking about this hard, and I'm like, wow, there's like tons that you can go. But I think the 3 most important ones that you can't do without. The first one is, again, it actually is, again, around branding. But it's about knowing yourself, knowing exactly, and not even just knowing yourself, but knowing what your goals are with what you're building, with your company. And that's important because, you know, one thing about branding is whenever I talk to people, you know, I go to a lot of networking events. I go to a lot of, you know, I've been on radio stations, I've done blog interviews. Whenever I'm in that situation, you have to be consistent in your message. And you know, and you can't do that unless you know what your message is. You have to know the 3 points of, oh, this is me in 3 points or a nutshell. Or every time I talk to somebody, you know, at a radio station, I almost say the same exact thing. I'm like, hey, hello, I'm Alex from Lex On Decks. You know, I manage, represent, you know, talented and diverse artists from around the world. Boom. That's my tagline. And being consistent and knowing that is important, because if you don't know it, then your message is going to get non-consistent over time.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up. I don't know if any of people actually notice this, but every time I do a video, every time I do a piece of content, I always introduce myself as, hey everyone, Destrie from DestrieMonis.com, where I empower creative entrepreneurs to use simple online marketing moves in order to freestyle their lifestyle. So that's actually my brand statement. And I'm glad that you brought that point up, and because it is about being consistent. So every single piece of content out there, I always introduce myself the same exact way. And I always close the same exact way to reinforce my brand. So Alex knows a little bit about my my tagline, a little bit about my brand statement.
I love
And he knows that he knows me personally, so he knows that's really a reflection of who I am as a person, reflected onto my own brand.
Yeah. Another point I want to bring up on that is another thing that I always try to tell artists is make yourself as public as possible. And I mean that in all manners possible, right? One, obviously the obvious route to start is social media. And I always encourage all artists, all entrepreneurs to be on as many platforms that are relevant, if not all of them. Forget if they're relevant or not, you can make any platform relevant for you. Because each platform has its own market, has its own different groups of people, and it has its own different types of tools that, you know, you can deliver your message. Also, in terms of being public, you need to be out there in person. I get frustrated a lot when I see artists and entrepreneurs that stay at home and they want to just stay in the studio and record music, or stay at home and work on, you know, administrative stuff and whatnot. You need to be out there. If people don't know who you are, if people haven't seen your face, if people should be able to, like, I found you today on Facebook, next week on Twitter, the other week at a networking event, because now they see your face in so many different mediums. That is very important. Because why? Because there's so many artists in this world. There's so many entrepreneurs in this world. There's so many people vying for the same slice of the pie. You need to make yourself as public as possible. And in my personal experience, by the way, what that has done is I had people reach out to me again who I was surprised that reached out to me, people I've been trying to connect to for a while. And they're like, oh, I saw some little tidbit on this, you know, radio channel, or on this YouTube channel, or on this podcast. I'm on a podcast as well, on this podcast that you do. And again, like, you want to catch as many markets, as many people, and be as present as possible. So public, I'd say.
That is awesome. That's awesome advice. And I guess one little add-on to that is, if you're looking to learn like multiple platforms, most people try to do it all at once. Like, as an online marketer, I try to teach people to focus on one platform first, build an audience there, engage them, and then, you know, you'll be able to sell your products and services, or in this case, we're selling ourselves as a brand. That way you'll be able to, you know, leverage that platform. And then I would suggest moving on to another one, instead of just trying to do Instagram, YouTube, Twitter all at the same time. Because I suffered through this too when I initially got into online marketing. I was trying to do everything at once, and nothing was working because I was spreading myself way too thin in order for me to actually get exposure. And back then I didn't even have a personal brand. I was trying to brand myself as an online marketer, but like you mentioned before, how do I stand out as an online marketer if I don't know who I am?
Exactly. That's very important. And one last thing I want to bring up is the last tip I would give is open yourself up to as many different opportunities as possible. And I kind of view this in kind of similarly to the whole public concept, is that like, especially like a musician, for example, right? Musicians just think like, oh, the normal route is to, let me release my music on social media and let me plug it to blogs and radio. And then eventually one of these blog interviews or radio station interviews is going to be my ticket to the next stage. And that's not the case at all. I have a lot of artists that do a lot of various different things. I have actually a team of artists that are classically trained artists. I've run a nonprofit where they teach education in Argentina, music education to the schools in Argentina. I have other, artists that have done, other programs, for other schools or even prison reform or anything like that. And there's, obviously I'm just giving like specific examples, but there's a lot of different things you could do. You could work on a branding deal. You can maybe try to figure out, how do I get involved with a makeup brand and get my song plugged into there. There's so many different routes in terms of how you get your voice out there. And in my opinion, exploring as many different opportunities is really what makes you stand apart. Because all about the name of the game of branding, like I've been saying from the beginning, is how do you stand out? If you're just sending to blogs and you're just on the same blog interviews as the next guy, because a lot of people are on get blog interviews. It's not that hard, but if you're now they look at you like, oh wow, he does his teaching program after hours, or he does like, he does these educational programs to, motivate people like you're doing. A lot of artists do that as well. That again, it makes you a well-rounded person. It makes you a well-rounded brand, and that's important to how you stand out. Again, what people are looking for. Another thing is, like I always tell artists, is that you're a musician, and and your main job is to create music, but that's not really what you're doing. You're sharing yourself with the world. You're sharing what you to the table with the world. And so that needs to transcend just the music. You need to diversify all the different things you do, open yourself up to as many opportunities, I would say, and look into them as many as possible.
That is awesome, man. So just to recap on those 3 tips that you gave to us. So number 1 is to build a brand for yourself. Number 2.
And then build a brand around that. Yeah.
Say that again?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. So know yourself and then build a brand once you know yourself. Yeah.
Know yourself and build a brand around that. And number 2, meet as many people as possible. And number 3 was?
Open yourself to as many diverse opportunities. Like basically, like if you're doing music or whatever it is, you should be in different channels, not just one channel. That's what I'm saying. But open yourself up. Yeah.
Definitely, man. That was some incredible insight there. I hope you guys got a ton of value from that, guys. That was very, very powerful. A lot of golden nuggets dropped right there. So, Alex, tell me, where can people check out your content, or if they're an artist, what can they do to contact you, or how can they get in touch with you to be able to work with you with Lex On Decks?
Sure. So I'm on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, also the content platforms like YouTube, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Podbeam as well for our podcast. And then I have a website called www.lexondecks.com. Also, I forgot to mention, my social media is at Lex On Decks, just all one word. Yeah, so at LEXONDECKS. So it's like, my name is Lex. I'm on Turntable Decks, And so, yeah, all my content's there. You know, we're constantly publishing every day, all the music releases, all the activity that we're doing. And then through all those channels, like, you know, I was mentioning earlier about being as public as possible. I put all my information, my phone number, my email addresses. You can DM me, whatever you want to do, but all of that is public on my website and all my social media, which I encourage, again, all artists to do. I've seen some Twitter accounts where there's no link to anything else or there's no contact info, and I'm like, what about if a record label like loved your music so much they want to sign you that day?
And there's no contact information.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, so that's where you can find me, and I encourage artists to reach out. You know, we are always in the realm of collaboration. You know, there's another thing I encourage for artists to do just in general, but we always push that as much as possible through our label. So we always are looking for artists to come in, collaborate with us, whether it's recording on shows or any other outside activity, like a different activity, like I said, like, you know, teaching or any other cool programs. Definitely reach out to us, because, you know, one of the biggest things beyond the other things I mentioned is collaboration. You need to have a lot of people on your side. You need to grow your team of people, grow your following, but also grow the people you work with. So we're in the vein of that. So definitely DM us for that. We're happy to hear from you. Send us your music, send us what you're thinking, whatever it is. You know, Lex On Decks will definitely respond.
Awesome, man. So Alex, as we start to close out here, so I just wanted to say I acknowledge you for all of the work, the hard work that you do for helping to get artists discovered and help them do what they get paid for what they actually do best. I know it's not easy being an entrepreneur, and we both know this. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur, but it's so worth it because you have so much control over your life, over how you live your life and what you actually do. You don't have to you know, filter yourself. You can just literally be yourself and create a business around it. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for all of your hard work, man. And Lex On Decks is gonna be fire, man. Next time I'm in New York, I gotta come out and hit you up, because that is gonna be something fun to do. And
I would love to get you to breakdance at one of my shows.
yes, I would love to do that. And another thing is, you know, we've known each other for years, but I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually do love creating videos and videography. So next time I am in New York, or if you decide to come down to Los Angeles, I'd love to shoot you, dude. And we'll be able to create a freestyle lifestyle video, or if you want, we can create a video to promote Lex On Decks that you can use in all of your marketing efforts. So whichever way you want to do it, promote your business or promote your lifestyle. That's what I'm all about, and it's all about my Freestyle Lifestyle brand. So yeah, man, thanks for hopping on this Facebook Live with us, and on this webinar with us. And yeah, man, I appreciate our friendship and look forward to future collaborations.
Likewise, brother, likewise. And I'm definitely excited about the videography. We'll definitely chat on that for sure.
Awesome, definitely, man. So final question, actually, Alex, what does a freestyle lifestyle mean to you?
I love that. I love that question. So for me, you know, this is a new question for me, but I would say my immediate response would be in the vein of entrepreneurship and what we've been talking about, like the sky's the limit, right? And freestyle your lifestyle allows you to have that air, allows you to have that freedom. That's what I hear when I hear that phrase. And what I mean by sky's the limit is, like, you know, I was kind of mentioning the sales job I've had before where I just felt limited to what I can do left and right. Where Lex On Decks, I've done so many different things, which is why I've been encouraging it. I've done so many different things that have fulfilled me more than any other job could have, because, again, my lifestyle is freestyle. So yeah, that's how I think of it. Like, the sky's the limit, and it opens yourself up to give you that air, and you can have that true freedom to do what you want to do.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad that it came from you, because that's exactly what it means to me. It's different for everybody. But for me, it's all about self-expression through your art, through your music, and essentially through your lifestyle. That's what my freestyle lifestyle means to me. And well, there you have it, guys. I hope this has been valuable for you guys. Make sure you guys get connected with Alex if you're an artist looking to get discovered at lexondecks.com. And his handles are at LexOnDecks, LEXONDECKS. And I like to usually end all of my content with this, Alex, and you should know this. So until next time, guys.
Freestyle.
Your lifestyle. All right, take care, guys.
Take care, Destrie.